So a little bit late to the party, but the Shapeshifters have commenced. I've been away the weekend and we've cut back and started to have a look at these. Now, as we kind of knew, they were going to go up to a slightly higher rated. We're starting to see our first 98s and some very good Shapeshifters alongside a cracking team. Just as a Nations League winners team, absolutely brilliant that again they've gone for it. Love the design of the card. Again, gone with the orange, it's nice. You got CR7, Bruno, Vitinha, Neto, loads and loads of nice cards. Some of them with double. João Neves, Vitinha all getting it again with obviously their PSG and this version, but also throwing in a little bit of, I say Shapeshifters, I think it's just João Neves really going in at right back. But regardless, it's always interesting to see loads of different cards coming on the market. Now we are having, I believe, 3 teams of Shapeshifters. So let's rock through what we know so far. We've got a couple of heroes that we can obviously throw into this. We've obviously got company in net. Some work, some don't. We've got JJ, we've got Milito, and I can imagine we are going to rock a lot more in the coming weeks. So if you're looking for coins, check in the description for El Dorado. Depending on the coin amount that you're looking for, the delivery time is displayed on the website and you'll see lots of different trusted sellers with reviews on specifics and also the ability to be able to pick who you want. It will also show how much they have in stock, and obviously you can see that they are verified members. There is 100% refund ability and also 24/7 support if you need any questions with your coin needs. Also, if you head over to Trustpilot as well, you can see over 30,000 upvotes for them. You can see how reliable they are. Obviously great feedback across the entire board with El Dorado. So when on checkout, make sure you are using the code JT11 for 5% off your order every time. Discount code JT11. Now let's get back to the video. Now I must admit, when it comes to keepers, especially Shapeshifter keepers, it's either a hit or they're not. And I must have to go on the record with it. I don't think company's it, to be honest. He's 6'2", so he had a chance. I definitely gave him a chance to really rock himself up there, but it's just not, unfortunately. They do have a quadruple playstyle plus for him as well, which is always nice. Again, still missing out on that triple goalkeeper playstyle plus. I just don't think, for me, company is the guy to provide. When it comes to Milito, obviously coming in at a slightly lower rating at this point, at 94, seems to be one of them ones where you think, okay, well, we're definitely going to have to go for an Evo at this very point. We've got the quadruple on him: technical, chip shot, rapid, and low driven. I mean, it's not the worst, but I do think because obviously you are looking at him from a quadruple playstyle plus, an Evo perspective, in terms of against what we're going up against in the Shapeshifter team, it's very bad. Like, I mean, the only chance that he gets played personally is going into an Evo, but unfortunately for him, I don't even think that's going to help him. At 94, there's going to be so many higher rated, well, higher valued players, so players that you'd actually want to Evo over him. I don't think he's going to get a shot in. And then can we make it free for free with JJ Okocha coming in with his 95, going into a CDM sort of card. Now, most definitely a little bit better. Jockey, relentless, long ball and pinged pass, not the worst option in the world. 95 is going to put him out of the comfort zone of an Evo because we're only just going into 93s and eventually 94s. 95s are still going to be that little bit of time. I would put him as a flat usable in my opinion. I do think he's one of them cards that if you get him, you'd be happy. May not be absolutely expensive beyond belief, but he's decent enough to throw in the pool. He's good enough to have there. Then we move on to the icons. Now this is where it gets a little bit more interesting for a couple more cards. We have Maradona, we have Mia Hamm, Cafu, and a Patrick Vieira striker. Alongside them we do have a David Beckham as an SBC that we'll throw in as well, just to kind of get his numbers in. Now, obviously, Maradona is going to be the talking point for this. Patrick as well will be another massive one that you can obviously get. Now, obviously, with Maradona being 98, it's always interesting to see because he's coming in at 4.3. The big question really for him is he truly worth that sort of price? Now, at 4.3, he's obviously got the chance of the inside forward if you want to add on to him. And I can imagine there might be extra playstyle pluses added for him once we get into that 5th territory, which will be during footies. Now, in terms of playstyle pluses, we're looking at the finesse, the technical, the rapid, the incisive. As a right wing goes, it's not the worst. Most definitely could be slightly better with maybe a low driven instead of the technical, but I'm definitely not complaining heavily on him. I do think for me, he is definitely one of the better ones in this game and would go into that top sort of meta. Then we have a look at, just because I want to show it, the SBC David Beckham. I literally called it. I thought he was going to get a fullback because realistically he's already got a centre mid card. We've already seen him kind of as a right mid. I don't think they were going to give him anything midfield. He's not going to go striker, and he most certainly isn't going centre back. So he had to go into that fullback role, and he did. So he's got himself this at 276. I don't think that's bad value, to be honest. I really think value-wise, you're actually looking pretty good for a right back. The big question is should he play there? That's the real question. Now, obviously, he has got the CDM, if you've kind of already noticed that, and there is a potential for a position change or a position add at some point in the future. I don't think this card is the worst that you can get. Now, he's only 2 ratings higher than his 94, and he's actually more expensive on his 94, but it's a quadruple playstyle plus it's going to be the big difference. Anticipate, jockey, whipped pass, again, can work from a fullback, and an incisive. CDM could work as well. I don't think he's a terrible card. I think if I was looking at him and I kind of saw him, I thought he would be probably a standard card to more standard. So for right now, I'm going to put him in the very usable, but we are going to hold out on that rating because there is a lot of other cards, and I've got to determine in terms of a fullback in a CDM, does he weigh up the options? Because I feel like he could potentially be dropped down, and I'm kind of going off the name. And also absolutely huge that he is now a Sir David Beckham. That's just incredible in itself. You knew that he eventually would get that title at some point. Then we have a look at Mia Hamm. Now, definitely sometimes you kind of have to go with cards and think if it's not broke, don't fix it. And I think Mia Hamm is a perfect example of this. She is great as a striker, hence why her striker for an Evo at 89 is 2.7 mil at the moment. We've got her with the incisive, the ping, the tiki-taka, and also the intercept. Now, the big problem with this sort of card, yes, she's 97, but if you've got that 89 and you've Evo'd, she's one of the better strikers in the game, if not one of the best as such. In terms of accolades, in terms of playstyle pluses, she's definitely up there amongst the top 5, top 10, easily. So already if you're thinking I'm going to change it just because she's 97 is a big change to make, and I think she's definitely a solid card. I don't know if I'd quite say she's one of the best in the game as such. I think for me she'd come in as a decent level, but I wouldn't necessarily like spring too much on her. So I think for right now, again, you'd be looking more towards the very usable more so than anything. And then we've got Carfu. So taking a look at him then, let's go into his CDM role. Obviously 96 rated, coming in from the fullback role. Again, another fantastic one that has been evoed many times in the past. We've obviously got the 96. First touch, incisive, tiki-taka, anticipate. Playstyle pluses are not the problem with this card. The problem you've got is kind of coming up against the David Beckhams, coming up against a lot of other centre mid, CDMs, cams that are going to rock that midfield. I feel like he's going to be just quite a clear and simple, little bit over Beckham, but just under the kind of big boys in the top area. Patrick. Now, he's kind of swapped the roles with a Mia Hamm here. It is a shame that Mia Hamm couldn't get some sort of kind of wing role instead, but she's obviously gone into these CDMs anyway. When we do look at Patrick, he's obviously gone up front, can still play the cam. We've obviously got the quick step, the finesse, the low driven, the aerial. In terms of playstyle plus, he's smashed it. He's obviously a very tall striker at 6'4", big pace upgrade, massive shooting, good physical, decent dribbling, great passing. He's going to be a powerhouse of these strikers, and that's kind of what you see during the Shapeshifter era. Goalkeepers playing centre mids, Milinkovic-Savic, checking in net, going up front. Obviously then sometimes like Mignan wasn't a bad keeper in the past. It's always interesting to see where these cards go, and I think most definitely with a bit of Vieira, he puts himself into that absolute top category, in my opinion anyway. Which leaves us with the actual team. Now, obviously, when we look at the goalkeepers, I think one that actually did all right, that I think you could potentially get a bit of use out of, is got to be Konate. Genuinely, what he brings to the table is a fantastic set of skills. He's 6'4", so a little bit taller than Company. Oh no, it's Company's 6'2", isn't it? I don't know if it was height that was the problem with Company, or if it was the pace of him. It just didn't work. But obviously with Konate, the height difference is always going to make a slight difference, in my opinion anyway. But in general, just a solid 98 keeper. He's coming in with the footwork, the far reach, is it? far reach, pink pass, long ball. It's what you're going to see standard with keepers. So nice keeper nonetheless. I think he's definitely up there with some of the better keepers that you can actually get. Which then leads us into a lot of the kind of fodder era. We've got a few that obviously will be more in the miss, some that will just be okay. It's bound to happen. Like you see kind of like your Schlotterbeck, in terms of a striker, like not everybody's going to be set out for gold. So it kind of, you can kind of tell. And realistically at this point, unless you are talking about like a Griezmann or Harry Kane, Evos are just not going to hit the same for them. You're not going to Evo a 95 Schlotterbeck when you've got like say a 94 striker in say like Martinez in terms of Inter. If you got his team of the season you can Evo him, you're probably going to choose him over a Schlotterbeck. So you're going to have a lot of kind of bog standard talent that really is just going to be unfortunately in the miss, and that's just the whole point of it. You're going to get a lot of kind of just fodder that throws themselves in there, so that absolutely is fine. I do think some, like the Mappy Leon scenario, you can obviously get a little bit out of a, again, no triple playstyle plus, but you could definitely get a bit out of some of these cards. But realistically, you're going to be looking for the quadruple at this point. Someone like Diane who's going to throw herself in, she's kind of in that 50k range, which is always nice, but it's the quadruple playstyle plus that does it. Now obviously with the cam you've got the quick step, the low driven, the ticky, and also the finesse is going to work its magic into kind of that lower category, but it's still going to not help with some of them like Swanson and a right back. Realistically, it's just not going to do anything. You've got obviously the 93 already. When we do look at the card, I'd much rather have that and build on the Evo, whereas 96, it's just not going to do too much. You're realistically not going to use that card. So obviously Schlotterbeck, Swanson would be kind of more in there. I think then you do have Wright, who's another cam, and to be honest, he looked all right, quite literally, but in general, he was just more of a fodder player, more so than anything. Again, he's coming in with the 94 rated, so he's a potential that you could see in a future Evo. Obviously, it's an objective. He's got the incisive, the long ball, the anticipate. It's a standard card. Now, whether I would truly use him, probably not. But realistically, as an upgraded card, he can throw into the champion. Is it the championship? Yeah, the championship. He's standard, but realistically, as an objective, you know where he was going. Now, going on to a more lighter note, we obviously have got some very good cards. And Harry Kane as a centre mid doesn't look that bad. 1.7 mil. We've obviously got him with the cam, the centre mid, and the CDM, so he can play all positions in there. He's obviously got the intercept, the pinged pass, the incisive, and a finesse. To be honest, this could be one of the better Harry Kane cards we've got. Now, if you've obviously got the 97, it's fair enough because that card is absolutely cracked as well. But this is a stunning upgrade from him, to be fair. I would definitely put him into more of that top sort of category. Now, obviously, another one that has not had a card in a long time. We have obviously got Endrick. His last one was Future Star, which he did get a massive upgrade for, 93 from 77. But now we've got the 96. Now, again, he's coming in with some decent playstyle pluses. I'd honestly put him as a pretty solid striker, and I think the price for him is decent. It's just the fact that he can't play that striker. But again, with position alterations you can get in the future, putting him as a cam or a left wing might not be a bad option for a little bit. I do think you could possibly get a bit of use out of him, to be fair. So he's going to be one that I kind of actually really do like the look of for a very cheap option going forward. Which then throws us onto another solid player, and that is in Griezmann. He is magnificent. Incisive, first touch, finesse, tiki-taka, the stats that he possesses, the positions that he's got. Beautiful cam. Left wing, right wing cam. He does everything. And I absolutely love him for it, which is just another reason he is going into that absolute top. We throw in a bit of Elise as well, another very solid striker. We're obviously going to get a lot of up and down positions, so people will change consistently. I will try and run out as many attacking, midfield, defending tier lists that we can go through and really try and narrow down some of the best strikers for you. I do think Elise comes in with some very, very nice playstyle pluses. Trickster is what it is, but the triple side of him, absolutely stunning. At 717, he would most definitely be one of my more favoured cards. Same with Rashford, to be fair to him. He's going to come in at the same sort of level, I do think, as a centre mid. You're going to argue with the 95, and I think that's where a card like this, unfortunately, will be a bit of a downfall because the 95 was so good in that striking role as well. If we're going to get an evolution like we have had in the 92 left mid, you are going to take it. So putting him as a centre mid, unfortunately, would put him into more of, yes, a usable category in terms of a centre mid. He's got decent stats, but realistically, he's not going to be in that absolute all-time high. You're really putting him here at the moment because of his rating, and that's absolutely fine. Odegaard will have the exact same treatment. He's obviously got the 97. We do have a 95 for him, which is another nice card, but the quadruple playstyle plus the added bonuses. He's a solid card for a 97, but once we get week 2, week 3 in there, unfortunately he will drop massively. We do have, obviously, Lewandowski coming in as a centre mid. I do think position-wise we do need a bit extra, but he's coming in at 250 as well. Quick step, low driven, pinged pass, and incisive. Again, like Kane, can play up and down the middle. I do think he's kind of just a lower version of Kane at this point. So, again, for the price, absolutely stunning. You're going to kind of get that in the SBC tier list tomorrow, but he's absolutely stunning for the price. He's just not necessarily in that top category, in my opinion. Royce was an interesting one, actually. We saw him out on the Friday evening, and I thought, okay, so we now know that end of eras, or at least a flashback, could get another upgrade at some point. I thought Royce, this would be the final card. So whenever doing these sort of cards, I'm thinking, well, if they're not going to get anything other than that, you might as well evo that card. Now we know we've got a 97 of him. May not be the absolute kind of last card that you want from him, because you did have a cam striker. Now you've kind of got a centre mid CDM. But I do think he comes in with a bit of talent to him. I do think when we look at him, he's going to be a low-end, very usable sort of card, especially in that centre mid CDM role. If you've obviously got a heavy MLS sort of squad, or even Bundesliga, he could work for it. We also then got Savinho yesterday as a massive SBC, 96 rated, coming in at 316. Unfortunately, no finesse shot. I do think that could have been a saving grace for this card, in my opinion. Now, I do like him as a card. I just think this is a bit of an up and down for the playstyle pluses. Quick step nice, low driven nice. Technical I don't necessarily need. And tiki-taka. If you're playing a wing role, could be potential. If you're playing him in the cam, it might not be bad. But realistically, it would have kind of taken him to that next level with the finesse, in my opinion, anyway. And we do have a goalkeeper going into the centre-back role. Now, definitely keep eye on any SBCs of goalkeepers coming out. We obviously did see Milinkovic-Savic, so if he does get another centre-mid card, we are definitely doing him. But we've got the centre-back coming in now. He's obviously going to be quite a tall centre-back, and to be fair, I do think he holds his value pretty well. He's kind of one of them ones that I do think they've really tried to put that next level goalkeeper into a centre-back. 6'6", anticipate, intercept, aerial, and block. Very good playstyle pluses from a centre-back. I do think for right now, he'd put himself in a low, very usable. I think you've still got the likes of Virgil. You've obviously got the likes of Lukaku if you really fancy it. But your Maldinis, your Team of the Seasons that are still a bit above him in the kind of top meta. But he definitely comes in as a very usable card in my opinion. Lukaku as well. Not a bad upgrade. We've seen him before in this sort of role. We saw him with... I can never remember if it was with Ramos going striker or it was Ibra centre-back era. He actually does a pretty good job. I do think for him, he's very much like the goalkeeper. He's very much a starting centre-back where right now it looks good, but we get more and more strikers that go centre-back that are a bit more of the bigger build, like a Lewandowski, like an Ibra back in the day. They're a bigger striker. Haaland was the great example for Winter Wildcard, and they definitely do a little bit. But it runs out very quickly. Once you start getting more and more of these, they do drop very, very quickly. So it's always another question of you kind of wait for the kind of team to change and see who then would change with them. We also then have a Serbi who's going to be another one that really kind of puts himself on the map with this beautiful striker card. We also have Bull as well, was kind of looking for. They're very standard. I do think a Serbi unfortunately was just a bit of step too much. He needed quick step at the absolute minimum, so it isn't going to really transpire into anything for him. He's kind of just another name. If you're throwing in an Evo or a past and present into team, fair enough. And Mukiele as well is going to be another one that, again, just really didn't hit on this. So they're going to be pretty standard cards that would just go into the bottom of the pile, unfortunately. And that would be Team 1 for right now. We're going to have Team 2, many SBCs, many objectives that are going to come out in the near future. So we will keep up to date with all of them. SBC tomorrow, so make sure you subscribe for that. And I'll catch you all for that next one. Peace.